Hey, we're going to look at the basics for bringing a picture in to trace it and then to save it as a DXF file or to be able to extrude it or use it with your 3D modeling tools. So step one, I would find a picture that you, like a clip art and picture that you wanted. And then I'm going to use my screenshotting kind of tool. So on my Windows machine, it's the snip tool, but on a Chromebook, it may be Control Shift and the Windows tile button above the 6, or could be your stylus tools. If you have a stylus, you get a screen capture tool. All right, so you're going to take a screenshot, and exactly where we crop it really doesn't matter because we're really just going to kind of trace over. We're not really using these edges. It's really just something that's going to be in the background for us to see. So you'll need to save it. Make sure you know where it's saving so you can kind of find it. And I've got it saved here in my pictures called East Talk Logo. Just do that again. And then we come back to Onshape. I have a sketch open ready to go. And so I've already, hit start new sketch. Now I happen to be on the front plane. Okay. There is, it may look like that. I don't know, the default button that's here. It may show the DXF, but right next to the dimensioning tool, there are a couple buttons here that share this position, the insert DXF and also the insert image. So we want to use insert image to bring in this PNG file. We need to tell Onshape kind of where to get that file. There's no files currently in this document, so we're going to import that file. So we're going to choose import, and you got to navigate to where it is. So my East Talk logo. And now this picture file is here in my document that I can choose it. It says select an imported image. Okay, I'm going to choose this one. And then it says draw an image rectangle. So just kind of I could start at the origin, it really doesn't matter, but just kind of click and move my mouse diagonally and click again. And the size really doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to resize kind of whatever I trace. But if you know exactly what size you want, you might go ahead and dimension it. You can add the dimensioning tool right here, and it'll rescale it proportionally. So if I say make this 3 inches instead of 7 inches, whatever it is, it's going to scale down. Okay, but even after I trace it, I'll be able to resize things if I want to. So that's how you get an image in. Next up, to trace it, it's really probably going to be the line tool and the spline tool. So the line tool is pretty easy. I'm just going to kind of make line segments where I've got nice straight geometry to follow, which is kind of there and there. I don't want to get a constraint necessarily to that, so I'm not going to take time to be too perfect, but there you go. Okay, now you should have, I guess it's next to the polygon tool, you should have another button, may share some things that's got the spline. It's got a Bizer, another tool, and it's got the spline control point. So we want the spline tool. The spline tool is basically going to allow you to make these curves through just placing a series of points, and it will smooth and that curve through those points. So I'm going to start a spline where that line segment ended, and if I just click some points, now if I have a lot of patience, I'll maybe give myself more points, but I'm going to come through and basically just click along, and it's going to smooth out and create that curve. Okay, so I want to have a couple key things I want to show you here. One is I don't want that to be smooth. That looks like a corner, right? And so at that point, I'm going to double click, and that's going to end my spline. Okay, so that's one thing I want to show you. The other thing is this doesn't look so great, does it? That's a little intentional. One, I was going fast, but two, I wanted you to see that you can, after turning the spline tool off and being done, you can grab these points that you had selected along the way, and you can adjust them and move them. Okay, and this here is like a tangent line. It controls the angle of the line there. So you're going to grab these points and maybe adjust them a little bit to get the curve to match what you want it to. And one thing you could do other than that might help in addition to what I'm doing right now. Okay, so you see how I can kind of adjust them and move them and fix that. The other thing is, okay, in this drop down where spline was, there's a spline control point. This allows me to click somewhere where maybe I didn't have enough points to control it the way I wanted to. So it's the arc, that the curve that's been created is maybe, you know, too sharp or not sharp enough, and I just really what I need is more points to control it. Is with that tool turned on, I can come and click and it'll place another point. And so let's say I have a couple places that I just want a little more control. I can do that, and I'm going to turn that tool off, and then I can come grab those new points and kind of play around with those and just have maybe just a little more control. Okay, so that's that. So from here, I would just imagine that I'm taking my time and being careful. Maybe that's another place that I stop a spline and get more of a corner and start a new one. Okay, so we're not going to worry about this being perfect right now, but I trace out my image. Double click to end right there. And I should have a closed loop. Okay, I'm going to turn off the spline tool and I'm going to grab the image. It's trying to reset. Oh, I know, it locked the origin. Well, let's just grab the image and hit delete. Should be able to delete the image. Edit image, no, and delete the image. There you go. Let's at least do that. I should be able to delete it now if I select it. Okay, so what you have now is like a trace sketch of what you wanted. I can close that sketch out, and from right here, just having the sketch, I could export it as a DXF file, which would be helpful. And the other thing is I could actually use it for, since it's a closed loop, for tools like extruding. So I could extrude that and now make it a 3D object. I can change the length of the extrusion. Okay. And once you have a solid object, remember this is another way that you can get a DXF file as well, is you can just hover over the face and you can right click and you can export as DXF. Make sure it's on DXF and not DWG, so DXF being probably preferable if you're moving over to like a laser software. All right, there you go.